We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?
Welcome.
A good day to you.
Back to another episode of Learn With Us, where we find content that's worth your time and we learn from it.
With you.
With you.
Rock on.
Today, we're going into the land of climate change.
Climate change. We don't venture there very often, but I studied climate change in college. So that was fun.
He's got a climate brain.
I got a climate brain. I can click.
All right,
I'm
it's
in
on
it.
now.
It's on. Yeah.
So who are we reacting to?
We are reacting to Greta Thunberg.
Yes.
And she has not been in the news for a while, but she's cool. And we just thought of her and we said, she's cool. Let's react to her.
How old was she when she first blew up? Do you know?
14.
14-year-old. I'm sure most of you have heard of her, but
Yeah.
if you haven't, who became an international star for speaking about climate change.
Not just speaking, striking from school. She decided against her parents' wishes to stop going to school because of climate change, and she started the school strike for climate change movement and the Fridays for Future. So every Friday she'll go to different places, or used to go to different places before COVID, and schools in that city would not have school. And then they'd rally around her. Or they would have school and then kids just wouldn't show up.
Oh,
It's cool. Yeah.
cool.
And she just started doing that. And she started just sitting in the Capitol, outside the Capitol building of her, I don't know where she's from. Where's she from? Is it Sweden?
I want to say Sweden.
Sweden. And it was just this sign that says school strike for climate. Powerful stuff. Just one person doing this little thing. And now she's like,
And this is her speech at the UN,
yes, exactly.
which was one to hear.
Yeah.
So we're gonna listen to it and talk about it.
Bang.
My message is that we'll be watching you.
She's dead serious.
Yeah.
Everyone's laughing.
What's funny?
This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words. And yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?
General attitude. What do you think about it? The general attitude of anger and frustration, because I know I've gone through periods where I've felt deeply that way.
Yeah.
And I think I've noticed pretty much everyone who was in my field in college goes through a phase like that. And personally, I've found that there is a place beyond that phase that's much more rooted in love and understanding. The frustration's still there, and that sometimes drives you to refocus and not, let things slide. But the frustration isn't the core thing. I think that can sometimes be unhealthy.
Yeah, I think one of the things that is detrimental to the climate and environmental movement currently is the fear-mongering around it.
Yes, the you're not recycling enough type thing.
Yeah. And the fact that just makes people feel crappy about what they're able to do and not want to listen to more of this stuff.
And feeling crappy, you're never going to be creative about your solutions if you're feeling crappy.
You're going to be working from a place of fear and I need to do this as fast as possible.
And then people who know that I'm environmentally minded will oftentimes, without me saying anything, they'll be they'll start over analyzing themselves to me as if they're thinking that I'm judging them. I'm like, I'm not judging you. Like, I understand why you don't really care about recycling. I don't even think recycling is that great of a solution in a lot of ways. Like, it's just like we're not even having the conversations about it.
It becomes even more of a surface level conversation.
Exactly. Because the more and more we learn on this channel, climate change and the things going along with it, and the people in charge that are so-called driving this, like, that's all rooted in a million other things. So it's like, why are we even talking about it?
These are all the symptoms.
Yeah, it's all the symptoms.
And it's a way of life.
Yes.
That is then branching into all of these things that we think are horrible.
But it's like the way of life is what we need to change, which is like none of the climate conversation is about that. What I've learned about myself is that I can't make the real strives that I want to make in my personal environmental connection with everything unless I deeply work on myself first. It's like the external things can never happen first. Like, I will never be able to properly live what I actually view as a sustainable life. Like sustainable for the planet specifically, unless I have worked on myself deeply and are able to develop a deep-rooted connection with nature. Because then it won't be that deep connection. It'll just be these surface level things that I'm trying to fix. Like, I'll be coming up with these technological solutions so I can feel really good about being green, and I'll be buying like green toilet paper and shit. Like, that's not the solutions we're looking for.
They're not the solutions that are going to work.
Exactly.
Think about the fact that what a green or a sustainable future is just living in line with nature.
Yes.
Nature is the ultimate recycler, the ultimate, like, we are built out of recycled food that then became dirt, that then became food again.
Yeah.
It's like,
Which has been recycled millions of times.
We're made of the same stuff that dinosaurs were made out of.
Yeah.
The same stuff that, however the earth was created, we don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, however it was created, we are the same stuff.
Yeah. And so nature is the master recycler and upcycler.
For more than 30 years, the science has been crystal clear. How dare you continue to look away and come here saying that you're doing enough when the politics and solutions needed are still nowhere in sight? You say you hear us and that you understand the urgency. But no matter how sad and angry I am, I do not want to believe that. Because if you really understood the situation and still kept on failing to act, then you would be evil, and that I refuse to believe.
Bars, dude. Bars.
The popular idea of cutting our emissions in half in 10 years only gives us a 50% chance of staying below 1.5 degrees and the risk of setting off irreversible chain reactions beyond human control. 50% may be acceptable to you, but those numbers do not include tipping points, most feedback loops, additional warming hidden by toxic air pollution, or the aspects of equity and climate justice. They also rely on my generation sucking hundreds of billions of tons of your CO2 out of the air with technologies that barely exist. So a 50% risk is simply not acceptable to us, we who have to live with the consequences.
Dang. Cool that she has mentioned her, even not directly, like mentioned her privilege in this matter a couple times. How that she is able to not be affected right now by climate change, because a lot of people are who are less fortunate.
Yeah.
And even if it's not by climate change, people are today being affected by what's called environmental racism, which is like the idea that these lower income communities, which are oftentimes, way too often, minority communities, are going to be more often near these toxic chemical plants and the fracking facilities and the places that are not going to have as clean of water. And then when, you know, the more that climate change rolls in, that just gets worse and worse. And you know,
and you're already seeing this type of stuff play out with something like COVID, where the mortality rates are way higher in those types of communities, where people are already having pre-existing health conditions, because of the situation that they're in,
the environmental
environmentally.
conditions. Exactly.
Because we are just a reflection of our environment. Again, your microbiome is literally made of fungi, viruses, and bacteria from your external, and that is what builds your body.
And I mean, I know there's so many people out there that are for the solutions of green cities, and that's the solution everywhere, is like, we need to get out of all the rural areas, the suburban areas, and to just all humans move into cities and we just grow upward, vertical. But then you learn about stuff like that, like your microbiome, that you're all just made up of this bacteria and a reflection of your environment. How is living in a city going to make that healthy? I think that's pretty difficult. Like, it might be able to happen.
We need to start living in like underground cities.
Dude, if you are subscribed to this certain political party and you think that that political party is the correct political party and that other people who have different views are incorrect, I'd say ask yourself this question: do you think that you have the political views that you have because of something intrinsic within you, or is it because you grew up in the right environment? And I would argue the latter. That if you grew up in a place that was this opposite political party, you would probably subscribe to that opposite political party thinking the same things about the other political party.
Yeah.
You know?
And you can apply that to any thing that there are two sides to.
Yeah. Exactly.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
To have a 67% chance of staying below a 1.5 degrees of global temperature rise, the best odds given by the IPCC, the world had 420 gigatons of CO2 left to emit back on January 1st, 2018. Today that figure is already down to less than 350 gigatons. How dare you pretend that this can be solved with just business as usual and some technical solutions? With today's emissions levels, that remaining CO2 budget will be entirely gone within less than 8.5 years. There will not be any solutions or plans presented in line with these figures here today, because these numbers are too uncomfortable and you are still not mature enough to tell it like it is. You are failing us. But the young people are starting to understand your betrayal. The eyes of all future generations are upon you. And if you choose to fail us, I say we will never forgive you. We will not let you get away with this. Right here, right now, is where we draw the line. The world is waking up, and change is coming whether you like it or not. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, that was
Angry. Definitely.
Which, I mean, you hear those things that she just said, that's what you're first gonna feel, you know? It's
That
like,
is what you're first gonna feel.
you're saying that I can't have kids in the same way you can have kids without worrying that my kids aren't gonna have air to breathe.
Yeah. Marianne Williamson says this sometimes. It's another spiritual teacher that Eli and I like. We were fortunate enough to listen to a climate talk where she was talking in like the town over from us.
We got to meet her, shake her hand.
It was really cool. But she was saying that we need to transcend this narrative that we've been telling everyone that climate change is about statistics, because it is not. That is not what's going to change anyone's mind. That's not going to inspire any people to make changes. Like, the average person is going to hear those statistics and hear that that's cut in half and be like,
game over.
Like, but it just doesn't mean a lot. Like, it doesn't, you don't look outside and see that, you know? Like, you need to make it tangible. That's what Marianne says. You need to make it tangible. You need to show where the water is being polluted. You need to show where the soils are being degraded, because that's where all these issues are happening. And so the statistics are talking about the results of those things, but you need to talk about the physical things that are happening that are causing these global situations.
And empower people immediately to actually have tangibles that they can do.
Yes.
You know, it's like in a community like ours where there aren't good recycling programs set up.
Yeah.
There aren't community gardens. There aren't any of those foundational things that if we had a community garden and you could talk to someone about the importance of growing local food.
Yeah.
And then you could very easily that weekend spend 2 hours at your local garden, get to know your local growers.
Dang.
It's like, imagine how that, and that's the thing where we're talking about these massive shifts that we need, but massive shifts are easy. We just have this attitude about it like it's difficult.
We have this attitude like it's global. Because the massive shift happens in those 2 hours on the weekend that you're working in your community garden. The massive shift doesn't happen in meetings like this. It never, ever, ever will.
And that's where we've always put the blame.
Yes.
And put the, why isn't it happening?
Exactly.
When it's like, if you got 20 people in your town and you said, we're going to jam music, we're all going to invest in a little piece of gardening space together. We're going to go there, jam out, and plant some food, and then everyone's going to get to eat that food. We'll have meals together. Like,
that does so much more than any fear-mongering could ever do.
And all of a sudden, everyone's excited about learning how to plant.
And they don't even realize that they're helping the environment.
Exactly.
It's just like they're just in communion, and they're not looking at it as like, oh, I'm helping this big climate change thing. They're just living better lives. Because like connection with nature is living a better life, which will, as a result, because the root is good, and end up in less issues with the climate.
Yeah.
It's just like it's all connected.
It's all connected.
I can see it now.
Let's go.
Amen to that.
Amen to that.
All right.
What do you guys think? You have any thoughts?
Any thoughts?
I see you commenting down there.
All right. Jeez.
And if you do, we'll be sure to reply.
We will.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Much love.
Much love.
Zuzzing.
Zabba-dabba-doo.
Babushka.